and not suitable for people who don't enjoy super awesomeness. Viewer discretion. Warning. This video contains super awesome content not suitable for people who don't enjoy super awesomeness. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to Viewer's Choice. Your selection is about to begin. But first, take a look at what else you can see this week.
Hey, dudes, inviting you to travel through time. First stop, a long layover at the video store.
Bogus.
Wait, you've got Viewer's Choice.
Excellent.
Hello, you rotten little bloodsuckers.
America's most popular now. Get extra value. $12.50 cash back.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. What? Say what again?
Let's get out of here! Like now!
When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Make life take the lemons back. Get mad! I don't want your damn lemons! What am I supposed to do with these? Demand to see life's manager. Make life rue the day and thought it could give Cave Johnson lemons. Do you know who I am? I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down with the lemons.
This is my ship, the Nebuchadnezzar. This is the core. Where we broadcast our pirate signal back into the Matrix.
Welcome to the Nebuchadnezzar with your host, Anesto Morado, the double-headed coin, and your co-host, Pablo Morado, the Thunderbolt. Together, we are the Pyramid Podcast.
Have a nice day.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
Welcome to the Pyramid Podcast, our Halloween special. The Halloween special. All ghosts and ghouls and demons and witches are out. Prepare yourselves. We're about to be free. Yes, it's the Purge. October 31st.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
So that was a kind of misnomer. We had sectioned out a different intro for today's podcast, but welcome for the ghosts and ghouls and Friday the 13th.
Yes.
It's actually a switcheroo. Today is actually Friday the 13th, our first one of the year.
Yes, we're trying to create a Pyramid Podcast tradition.
That's right.
We're gonna go on 2 hours every Friday the 13th.
That's right. A quick special edition of the cast.
Yes. So how's everybody out there?
We hope everyone's doing good.
You know, stay safe. Today's a very spooky day where strange things happen on Friday the 13th.
Like I loaded up, we listened to the intro song before I loaded it up. I click it and we hear a different so you know, it's a strange oddity day today.
Yes, today's a day that has been known to be unlucky. I mean, there's a movie franchise that's built all around Friday the 13th.
That's right.
But many people don't know why Friday the 13th became so unlucky. But before we dive into that, Quick note.
Mm-hmm.
My condolences to the Presley family.
Presley.
Yes, Lisa Marie Presley, his daughter.
Oh no, what happened?
She passed away.
Oh no.
Elvis's daughter passed away yesterday.
That's how old was she?
54.
Oh wow, she was young.
She was really young.
That's
And it's sad
that's
because
awful.
they were celebrating, the movie, the Elvis movie.
Right.
I think it won 2 Golden Globes, and she was there about, I'm not sure how long ago, about a week ago, and they said that she wasn't feeling too well. And then yesterday, the news came that, her mother says that she passed away. So very sad, young, a young woman at 54. She had a very, how would I say, traumatic life from discovering her dad, slumped over in the bathroom to, multiple bad relationships. I mean, her life was tough, and imagine her going to school, being Elvis's daughter. So her life was really tough. I mean, she went from having $100 million to having a bank account with only 14 grand.
Wow.
So she had a lot of bad things happen to her, but now she's resting. And again, condolences to the Presley family.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, what's going on nowadays? Ever since 2020, people have just been dropping like flies, and it's
now
disheartening. It's really
after so many things have happened with young people mysteriously just dropping dead, that little by little the powers that be are softening, and now they're admitting that the jab could have a strong chance of being the culprit of why these people are mysteriously like.
Well, we've been saying it on this podcast for quite some time. Everyone out there, just think logically for a second, and just for a moment. I mean, this is not what the subject matter of today's cast is going to be about, but just think for a second. At any point when someone makes you do something against your will, or doesn't allow for you to question, that right there is just it's a little bit of a signal,
Or
and
bribe you into getting, because they were
yeah,
even bribing people, like, we'll give you free dinners, free
or
30 bucks.
other you make you, like, oh, you're irresponsible, or you're inhuman for not thinking of others, or whatever. And those are all signs of, like, of something that is more, uh, th- something that is more than what is being put out there, because obviously you're trying to cover up something, you're trying to cover up another side's perspective. And if you're doing that, then that means there might be some merit to that side that you don't want getting out. And that's
I mean,
where
there's a lot of signals, a lot of signs that lead up to the fact that the public is not being 100. They're not being told 100%. The what's going on behind the scenes. With pushing the jab, with bribing you into getting it, being tossed off social media if you mention anything against it. So again, this show is not about that. But
well, this particular episode,
this particular show is not about that. But the fact that Lisa Marie Presley passed away so young from a heart attack a massive heart attack.
I mean, we're lucky that Jamar Hamlin is, you know, finally released from the hospital. Thank God he's alive. But we're starting to see that, you know, there's something going on in our society, and you know, it's only a matter of time
And they
before we can no longer.
keep pushing these boosters and keep pushing. So
Yeah.
just folks, be careful out there, especially today, which is Friday the 13th.
That's right. And later on today, we're gonna have a special guest with us, a Pyramid Podcast exclusive. We're gonna have our first true, genuine guest with us, going to explain all the ins and outs of the paranormal world of spirits and ghouls and demons and things of that nature.
Yeah, they're paranormal investigators.
That's right. They're paranormal investigators, which I told them, you know, that's where we all stem from. This is where the podcast, the roots, you know, that's the soil of which we took root of this podcast.
That's, you know, we were trying to set something up like this way before this was even popular.
Right.
So
I mean, could you imagine in the 90s how much it would have cost to have this kind of setup in the house?
Oh my God.
I don't even think that existed.
I mean, it would have been very expensive.
Very, very expensive.
But sure. Anywho, let's dive in.
Yes.
Into
so you were gonna say about the Friday the 13th, the origins.
Origins of Friday the 13th. A lot of people don't know it. There's many
look into it.
What do you do?
Oh, you just haven't looked into it.
There are many layers that people believe where this superstitious day came from.
Mm-hmm.
One that I've heard of many times is the fact that Judas was the 13th apostle.
Okay.
He betrayed Jesus. He betrayed Jesus.
Also, but is he really the 13th apostle?
Well, he was the one, the 12 plus 1. You know, Jesus.
Right, but I thought he was included in that 12. Is he not?
Yeah, 12. The 12 apostles plus Jesus.
Oh, I see.
You understand?
Okay, so 13.
So a lot of stuff comes from a lot of this legend and superstitious day. People think is maybe stems from the fact that Judas being the 13th and I believe last apostle to come in.
Okay.
And the fact that he betrayed Jesus and inevitably he got crucified, and then Judas himself hung himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
For after all that, you know.
Right. It comes, a lot of people think it comes from that.
That's where people get the idea that money is the root of all evil, because
absolutely. You know, here's some shillings, some gold pieces,
right,
and you betray our Savior.
Right.
But also I've heard also the fact that, you know, this legend comes from the Norse, pantheon of gods.
Okay.
Where Loki like crashes some party.
Okay.
And he's like the 13th guest. And supposedly there was actually, let's see if we can find out the legend of Loki. Supposedly there was the person who threw the party, or some other god. He convinced the people at the party to kill this guy Something. It has something to do with Loki.
Okay, so let's see. I typed in the Friday the 13th origins, history and superstition. Let's see here. It says long considered a harbinger of bad luck. Let me share this with people that are watching us, and you can watch us live on our website at thepyramidshop.com.
Yes, thepyramidshop.com. We also streaming live on YouTube and Facebook and
Twitter.
Instagram and Twitter.
I think for those that are like-minded like us, I think Twitter might be one of the better places to find us, with Elon Musk doing all that he can to really make sure that we're not being touched, we're not being demonetized, our videos are not being blocked. It's not like YouTube where they interrupt our videos and say, can you spot the distraction?
Right.
But in any case, long considered a harbinger of bad luck, Friday the 13th has inspired a late 19th century secret society, an early 20th century novel, a horror film franchise, and not one but two unwieldy terms. Whoa. You try to let me see. Hold on. I don't know how in the hell you're gonna say this one. Okay.
All right. You gotta blow it up a little bit because my eyes are not that great.
Hold on. Let's see. Unwieldy terms. Look at this term.
Oh yeah, that's the one is for fear of the number 13th. It's called no. It's para
scavidacatra.
Para. I just heard it the other day. Para scavidacrophobia.
I'm afraid of the word itself.
I know the second one, which is frigatriskaphobia, something like that.
Triskaideka, I don't know. The phobia. Wow, that's a
frigatriska,
and that is supposedly to describe the fear of this supposedly unlucky day.
Right.
The fear of 13.
The first one is, I believe, is the fear of Friday the 13th. And the second, the one is fear of Friday. And the other one is
the fear of
Friday the 13th.
So this must be frigatra. That
yes.
One.
Is the fear of Friday, which to me doesn't make any sense because everybody looks forward to Friday.
Right.
But
except the people that work on Friday.
Well, yeah, for people that don't have a weekend.
Yeah.
But continue on.
So it says, just like walking under a ladder, crossing paths with a black cat, or breaking a mirror, many people hold fast to the belief that Friday the 13th brings bad luck. Though it's uncertain exactly when this particular tradition began, negative superstitions have swirled around the number 13 for centuries. While Western cultures have historically associated the number 12 with completeness, there are 12 days of Christmas, 12 months in the zodiac signs, 12 labors of Hercules, 12 gods of Olympus, and 12 tribes of Israel, just to name a few. Its successor, 13, has a long history as a sign of bad luck. It says the ancient code of Hammurabi, for example, reportedly omitted a 13th law from its list of legal rules, though this was probably a clerical error. Superstitious people sometimes point to this as proof of the 13th long-standing negative associations.
But do you know, like a lot of people are not aware of this. Most buildings do not have a 13th floor.
Right. Technically they have it. They have
but they don't name it.
They don't name it the 13th.
So it'll
floor.
go 12, 14.
In some buildings, like the Sirius XM building that I worked in, the 13th floor will be like a server floor. So it's like a floor of just computers, or like a floor of just like maintenance. So like technically,
but it's not labeled 13.
Like no, so like technically there's no there's no um way to get into it from like the general public. Your only way to get to that floor would be through the service elevator.
And does it say 13?
I'm not
It'll probably say like service floor or
yeah, probably
something.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's even hotels don't have a
Mm.
13 room number 13.
Well, it says why is Friday the 13th unlucky? It says according to biblical tradition, 13 guests attended the last supper held on this is what you were saying on
Right.
Maundy Thursday, including Jesus and his 12 apostles, one of whom Judas betrayed him. The next day, of course, was the Good Friday and the day of Jesus's crucifixion. The seating arrangement at the Last Supper is believed to have given a rise to a long-standing Christian superstition that having 13 guests at a table was a bad omen.
So you see, this superstition stems back, even to the Last Supper.
It says here they have even the 13 Club. In the late 19th century, a New Yorker named Captain William Fowler sought to remove the enduring stigma surrounding the number 13, and particularly the unwritten rule about not having 13 guests at a dinner table, by founding an exclusive society called the 13 Club. The group dined regularly on the 13th day of the month in the room 13 of the Knickerbocker Cottage, a popular watering hole Fowler owned from 1863 to 1883. Before sitting down for a 13-course dinner, members would pass beneath a ladder and a banner reading Moturi de
Morituri de Salumatus.
Latin, for those of us who are about to die, salute you.
Interesting.
It says here, former U.S. presidents Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, Theodore Roosevelt would join the 13 Club ranks at one time or another. Wow. It says Friday the 13th in pop culture.
Did you know that Tupac died on Friday the 13th?
Did he?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Tupac Shakur. He was shot 6 days before, but succumbed to his wounds on Friday the 13th.
Wow. Really is an unlucky day.
Yeah, well, a lot of people also believe that this bad luck day of Friday the 13th also stems from the Knights Templars.
I wonder if they mentioned that here. It says here, what bad things happened on Friday the 13th?
Yeah, right there. It says it right there.
Yeah, here we go. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, officers of King Philip the Fourth of France arrested hundreds of the Knights Templar, a powerful religious military order formed in the 12th century for the defense of the Holy Land.
Now let me explain to you what happened there. The Knights Templars, they used to protect people doing the pilgrimage into the Holy Land, from Europe into the Holy Land, right? You know, the Knights Templars not only were there like their own private army, but also they were bankers. They were like the first noted bankers in history. So and there's also there's a Masonic lore which says that the Knights Templar dug at the base of Solomon's temple. And what they found beneath that temple is what gave them this, economic power. So throughout the years, the Templars became extremely strong economically, but they also were very well trained monks who took a vow of chastity, and they were warrior monks. So not only were they good at fighting, they were also very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So wealthy, in fact, that Philip of France fell in debt to them.
Wow.
So he hatched a plan with Pope Clement
Mm-hmm.
to find a way to get rid of these guys.
Okay.
Because King Philip, he couldn't pay them. They were so in debt to them that he couldn't pay them.
Right.
So his solution was, let's get rid of them. So their quarters was invaded, and supposedly they found the head uh, uh, uh they found some goat head representing Baphomet.
Oh my God.
So, and they accused them of worshiping Baphomet, and then tried them for heresy. And on Friday the 13th, their leader, Jacques de Molay, was executed. He was like, I believe he was hung upside down.
Well, it says here, imprisoned on charges of various illegal behaviors, but really because the king wanted access to their financial resources. Wow. You see? People out there think that we making this stuff up, you know. Many Templars were later executed. Some cite the link with Templars as the origin of Friday the 13th superstition, but like many legends involving the Templars and their history, the truth remains murky. In more recent times, a number of traumatic events have occurred on Friday the 13th, including German bombing of Buckingham Palace, the murder of Kitty Genovese in Queens, New York, a cyclone that killed more than 300,000 people in
Oh, you
Bangladesh,
see, look.
a disappearance of the Chilean Air Force plane in the Andes, and the death of rapper Tupac Shakur in 1996. Wow. And the crash of the Costa Concordia cruise ship off the coast of Italy, which killed 30 people in January 2012. Yeah. But we were looking for Loki. So what was the Loki story?
Okay,
Let's
but
see.
we dove into Jacques de Molay. Google Jacques de Molay.
Okay.
We'll put in Jacques de Molay death.
How do you spell
D-E? There he
you
goes.
go. Okay, it says here. Jacques de Molay, also spelled Molay, was the 23rd and last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, leading the order sometime before the 20 April 1292 until it was dissolved by the order of Pope Clement V in 1312. So let's see.
Wow,
Death.
it was even at 1312, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. So let's see here.
Oh, he was hung upside down and burned.
On his sentence, Molay retracted his confession and as final punishment. Oh, okay, let's see here. It says Grandmaster of the Knights Templar, an order of the knighthood founded during the Crusades that had attained extensive power. Oh, let me make this bigger so that everyone can read along here. Hopefully, you can read that. It says here, an order of the knighthood founded the Crusades that had attained extensive power and wealth. He failed to exercise effective leadership at the time of the suppression of the order by the King Philip IV, the Fair of France, and Pope Clement V.
Yeah, he was Philip. They called him Philip the Fair.
And it says Molay entered the order in 1265, fought in Syria, and after 1291 was at Cyprus. He was elected Grand Master of the Templars about 1298 and summoned to France in 1306 or 1307 by Pope Clement V to discuss a new crusade. Molay asked the people to investigate certain spurious accusations of blasphemy and sodomy that had recently been made against his order. On October 13th, 1307, all the Templars in France, including Molay, were arrested and interrogated by command of Philip IV, who was intent on crushing the order and seizing its wealth. On October 24th, 1307, Molay probably
Under torture.
under torture, confessed that some of the charges brought against the order were true, but he rejected a charge of sodomy. He wrote to the Templars throughout France enjoining confession, but when the Pope sent his own delegates to conduct inquiries, Molay and many of his subjects retracted their statements, saying that they had been exacted by torture. In November 1309 and in March 1310, Molay appealed for a personal judgment by the Pope. Clement decided to suppress the order in March of 1312, and on March 18th or 19th of 1314, a commission of 3 cardinals condemned Molay and other dignitaries of the order to perpetual imprisonment. On hearing this sentence, Molay retracted his confession, and as final punishment, he was and relapsed burned as a relapsed heretic by King Philip IV's officers the same afternoon. So he retracted his confession and was burned.
Yeah, because those were all trumped up charges. They were saying that the Knights Templars were worshiping Baphomet. They were engaging in weird sexual practices.
So he wasn't hung, he was burnt at the stake.
But I believe if you Google Masonic lore on Jacques de Molay, I believe they say he was hung by upside down. I could be wrong, but
let's see here. So, a little article here on Skirit.com. Not sure the validity. So it says here the order had held the Turk in check and kept alive the dream of the Christendom. It had given the world an idea of a chivalrous man and a religious man, the servant of his state and not ashamed of his own God.
Because supposedly they hung him the same way they hung Judas.
Well, I'm not finding that here.
Let's see.
Not in this because this is last Grandmaster Knights Templar in Lorne Pierce, 32nd degree.
Oh, he wasn't hung upside down.
He was burnt upside down.
No, he was crucified upside down. It says on March 18th, 1314, Jacques de Molay and few other Templars, after enduring torture and many other humiliations, were sent to death. De Molay was an old man, tired with life and proud of his achievements. He knew the tragedy which touched his brothers and himself was a result of schemes. He also was aware that the King of France had decided to torture and finally execute innocent people, the loyal knights of France. Thus, he was dying. He was dying. He cursed everyone who recommended his murder. The Templar order, known as the Knights Templar, Templars of the Order of Solomon's Temple, existed for nearly 2 centuries during the Middle Ages. Wow, they were around for a while. Their story began around 1129. But what does it say? His death. Because it looks like he was.
So you're saying he was burned upside down?
He was crucified upside down.
So. Well, you heard the sound, so that means that unfortunately that we're going to have to
go into our first break.
Well,
sound is real simple, B. It says wrap it up. Like that shit.
So we'll be back after the break.
Boing, boom, chuck. Boing, boom, chuck. Boing, boom, chuck. Boing, ping, boom, chuck. Ping, boing, ping, boom, chuck. Ping.
What is DNA?
How old is the Earth?
What's holding me back?
Are we all from the same tree?
Why is science so confusing?
How many women can I lie with?
Can I pay money and have all of life's answers?
Yes.
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 We speak 160 languages on 6 continents, including Antarctica.
Kiflam.
We are the Epsilon program.
At Bravado, we don't just make cars, we make America. Farms, fields, football, and getting together with some old friends. It's a diner where the waitress knows your name and gives you a hand job. It's a parade down Main Street with children cheering as their parents' jobs get outsourced overseas to be done by illiterate kids. It's a slow-motion shot of your kids running happy on a beach, ignoring the dead mammals and stricken seabirds, washing up from the latest oil spill. Our fires burn bright, especially when you're breaking apart furniture and burning it in a barrel to keep warm, while your wife turns tricks to buy food. We know America is hurting. We're in this together, which is why we want you to tell your congressman to approve our newest bailout. Bravado. United we stand. Together we fall.
Lucy? Lucy?
Go ahead and tell me more of the methods by which you cause people to drift to hell with you.
I cause people to drift on every subject through which I can control independent thought and action. Take the subject of health, for example. I cause most people to eat too much food, and the wrong sort of food. This leads to indigestion and destroys the power of accurate thought. If the public schools and the churches taught children more about proper eating, they would do my cause irreparable damage. Marriage. I cause men and women to drift into marriage without plan or purpose designed to convert the relationship into harmony. Here is one of my most effective methods of converting people into the habit of drifting. I cause married people to bicker and nag one another over money matters. I cause them to quarrel over the bringing up of their children. I engage them in unpleasant controversies over their intimate relationships and in disagreements over friends and social activities. I keep them so busy finding fault with one another that they never have time to do anything else long enough to break the habit of drifting. Occupation. I teach people to become drifters by causing them to drift out of school into the first job they can find, with no definite aim or purpose except to make a living. Through this trick, I keep millions of people in fear of poverty all their lives. Through this fear, I lead them slowly but surely onward until they reach the point beyond which no individual ever has broken the drifting habit. Savings. I cause people to spend freely and to save sparingly, or not at all, until I take complete control of them through their fear of poverty. Environment. I cause people to drift into inharmonious and unpleasant environments in the home, in their places of occupation, in their relationship with relatives and acquaintances, and to remain there until I claim them through the habit of drifting. Dominating thoughts. I cause people to drift into the habit of thinking negative thoughts. This leads to negative acts and involves people in controversies and fills their minds with fears, thus paving the way for me to enter and control their minds. When I move in, I do so by appealing to people through negative thoughts, which they believe to be their own. I plant the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people through the pulpit, the newspapers, the moving pictures, the radio, and all other popular methods of appeal to the mind. I cause people to allow me to do their thinking for them because they're too lazy and too indifferent to think for themselves.
I conclude from what you say that drifting.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. That was an excerpt from
Outwitting the
Devil.
Yes. And that was a little conversation from Lucy, our resident demon.
Yes.
And he doesn't like to be called that.
Oh, he doesn't like being mocked by being called Lucy.
So hang in there, folks. Today's a special episode. Today is the Friday the 13th episode, and that means that we're going to have a very, very special guest coming on very soon. But before we get to the guest, we have to say, please donate to the cast, because we need money to stay alive. I mean, all this stuff costs us, and we need to be sure that we can provide this value to all those that are looking forward to it. And we're hoping to elevate others like our oncoming guest. Hopefully we can direct you guys over to her if you're having or them if you're having any spiritual encounters or anything that you would like some
or have
closure.
a haunting at your place of residence,
right? And if you want some closure or something of that nature, you're having an issue and you're listening to this cast, we're helping businesses that don't really reach the mainstream, because you're not going to find this on a commercial of regular news broadcast or on TV.
No, you're not.
So and you're not going to also have the full context of the person and who you're dealing with. I mean, that's what invaluable to those that are listening, and to the people that we're gonna have on, because how often do we as individuals get to explain our story? I mean,
right,
very, very, very seldom. But in any case, please don't be a bolongo and donate to the cast.
Lo sabía que era otra pregunta. Tú nunca te quedas ahí, ¿no, verdad? Siempre con el dinero.
Oh, no.
Outstanding. And we have value for value. You can go to our website at thepyramidshop.com.
That's
right. We have supplements, we have coffee, and we have swag.
That's
right. So you don't have to just.
We got the Optimal, which is your multivitamins. They're gummies. They're delicious. It's easy to take. Got the fungi, mushroom infused coffee. You got my favorite, the Fortify, which is your vitamin K2 and D3, great for your immune health. You got Thrive, which is shaga mushrooms. You got the Leo, which is lion's mane mushroom. So, and you got the Flow, which are cordyceps mushrooms. All do different things to help your body perform at its optimal, at its best. And this is, you and I aren't in the best of shape. Hopefully in the those that are listening, you're gonna see the transformation as this extra weight melts off. It's my mission to get this weight off of myself and Mr. Anesto over there, because this is what you're seeing is only half of the true nature of who we are, the alpha males that we are. But that being said, these pills, they're not pseudo pharmaceuticals. They're supplements. They're not there to replace anything. They're there to add to your diet. That's the point. A lot of these minerals and vitamins aren't found in your normal diet, and quite frankly, these are all mushrooms that no one's eating. No one's eating shaga mushroom. I mean, who's serving that up on a plate? Who's serving up lion's mane mushrooms or cordyceps mushrooms on a plate? No one's eating this. You're not. This is. Let's be realistic. You're not gonna sit down and have a plate of cordyceps mushrooms,
right?
But they're good for your mind and you're good for your vascular system. So this is why we supplement with these things. So
and it's you kill two birds with one stone. You take care of yourself,
and you take care of us. And if you can't afford it, which we understand, the bare minimum that we ask of all our bobolongos is that you share the cast. You free another mind. You let them know that the Nebuchadnezzar exists. It's here in Narnia, and we broadcast every Monday. You let them know because the more people that we get to tune in, the more people we can hopefully get to donate and support the cast, and the more things that we can come up with for you guys that participate to the cast, you guys and gals out there. And we love doing it. I mean, these supplements,
doing it.
Supplements was just a thought. They were just an idea. The only reason we have them here in studio is because of you out there that are listening. And quite frankly, they help us too. So, they help you, they help us. We really appreciate it. And we're not going to promote anything that's going to hurt anyone or promote anything that we won't take ourselves.
And the best thing about it, you got something to do on Monday. Come hang out with us. You can, chat with us while we're on live. Give us ideas.
Yeah, a lot of people, I've heard from a lot of different people that don't listen to podcasts. So that's part one. If you don't listen to podcasts and this is your first podcast that you're really sitting down to listen to, a lot of people go, 3 hours or 4 hours. It's a long podcast. Well, or I'm not going to be able to listen to the whole thing. Well, you don't have to sit down 4 hours and listen to it in one gulp. You can, break it apart. That's why we have breaks. That's why we do, have funny things, because we know that a lot of the information we cover is a little bit in depth, and we need some comedic relief. So this is why we add funny things in between. This is why we try to, get each other to laugh, get you guys you guys and gals out there to laugh. But hopefully it's a hang. Hopefully it's as fun for you listening as it is for us. Everyone,
and all of our podcasts are available on the pyramidshop.com.
That's right.
And you can listen to it at your leisure.
That's right. And we're working on better ways to circumvent the censorship problem. We did a beta test, which unfortunately was just not feasible. So that's why you might see some videos that are currently not playable on the website. Unfortunately, the beta test failed. In order for us to continue to do that, it was going to reach thousands of dollars a month for us to continue doing this. And that's just not fair for you that are listening and not fair to us. So we're still looking for better ways to sustain the cast. We still are going to chug along here. Unfortunately, we have to sort of censor ourselves a little bit for the YouTube algorithms and stuff, because that's where most of our content's living right now. But if you subscribe to the Substack that we have, you circumvent all that. You get your podcast, our podcast, right to your email with the newsletter, and there's no censorship. Substack does not care. We actually monitor our community. We boot out the FBI, the feds, anybody that's being harassing or anything in that community, in the comments and that sort of stuff. We have power in our Substack, and that's where, if you want to subscribe to us and you want something that is not going to get taken down, Substack is the place to go for now.
So with that said, let's continue with this
2-hour
special.
So with the 2-hour special, I got something for you. Did you hear about the recent thing happening in our motherland? This crazy news article about them digging up somebody. Did you hear that?
In Dominican Republic?
Huh?
I am not familiar. No.
So check this out. In DR, they dig up some grandma, right? And they parade her around town.
And what town is this?
Well, we're about to find out. This is in the New York Post. I've never heard of this. I mean, this is I guess this is a cultural thing. I'm not sure, but
I wonder if this has to deal with a religious practice called Pablo over there.
Okay, it says of course, New York Post has to make a distasteful joke. Look at the way she looks over here. I don't know if you can see that. But it says she was still drop dead gorgeous. Oh god. Wah wah wah.
But what is the why do they exhume her? Like
it says a family in the Dominican Republic exhumed their grandmother nearly a decade after her burial, only to find the corpse perfectly preserved. I don't know if you can see that here. Let me see. Let's see if they have. Looks like it's having some trouble loading up the video here. Maybe. Well, in any case, if it doesn't, here we go. It's loading. They dug her up after 10 years. They parade her around the town.
This is bizarre.
Because
this doesn't happen in DR.
So this is, I mean, I don't know what the hell.
What does it say? What does the caption say?
So it says a family in the Dominican Republic exhumed their grandmother nearly a decade after her burial, only to find the corpse perfectly preserved. When Margarita Rosario was dug up at La Colonia Cemetery in Jarabacoa.
Oh, in Jarabacoa. Okay.
She was found to still have a full head of hair. Wow, my grandfather is jealous. He's still alive. 10 years dead, and she still has a full head of hair. And probably Joe Rogan too. Some skin and enough bones to be able to stand with a little support. Relative told Jam Press. It says a video shot outside the graveyard shows a man holding the corpse up while a woman dresses her in a white nightgown. A small group crowded to watch the aftermath of the exhumation, some of whom captured the scene on video. Local residents also expressed shock over how well Rosario had been preserved. She was a good person in life. That's why she's still preserved, offered one Jarabacoa local, while another was awestruck citizen noted the body keeps standing up and everything intact, incredible, as if the years had not passed. Chimed in a third. Others were pleased. Others were not pleased. The family disturbed their grandmother's rest. Now let the poor grandmother rest. Wow.
But I don't understand. Well, first of all,
look at what she looked like. Oh my goodness. So this is her alive. And this is her.
First of all, they make it seem
like this
that they exhumed her and she was exactly the way.
They make it seem like wow, like they pulled her out like looking like this.
Like, yeah. No. There's obviously has been some kind of,
I don't know. This whole thing doesn't even sound like a Dominican at all.
In Jarabacoa, like Jarabacoa is more of like a mountainous region.
Okay. But yeah, this is a thing that's going around here. Yeesh.
That is strange. And then
but they didn't. But the thing that's bothering me is that they don't say why they exhumed her body in the first place,
which is not common. Well, let me retract that statement. I don't know if she was buried on in the ground, or she was in some kind of mausoleum, because in DR they do go back into the mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
And they make space, they from because usually it's a family plot
Mhm.
and a family mausoleum, so they do go in after a certain amount of years and they do move the bones, to make space for the next person that might pass away.
Okay.
They do that.
Well, it
I've
says,
never seen them parade.
yeah, it says that she was dug up at La Colonia Cemetery in Jarabacoa. It doesn't say why, but yeah. I figured it was a nice, crazy story.
Yeah,
to
very,
share.
very strange.
You want to hear one more? 'Cause,
Sure.
We're getting close to our guest segment here.
Yes.
So this interesting story is about a Manhattan abduction that happened on the Brooklyn Bridge in 1989.
We were discussing this the other day.
So I found an article that discusses it. It says an extremely let me see if I can make this bigger for those that could read along with us. Let's see. Can you read that?
Yep.
Okay. An extremely compelling and controversial case of alien abduction is that of Linda Napolitano, originally aliased as Quarterly, which was researched by the well-known and respected Bud Hopkins. Napolitano claimed that she was abducted by the so-called Greys, who floated her from a closed bedroom window into a hovering UFO. The craft was waiting for her above a Manhattan apartment about 3 a.m., November 30th, 1989. Linda's experience, though intriguing, was hampered at first by memory loss. She could recall only bits and pieces of the abduction. She could only remember vividly the actual kidnapping and the room where she was examined, but the transportation process itself was totally lost to her. Further details of the case would be forthcoming via passage of time, other witness statements, and through regressive hypnosis. It says here.
Oh, so she remembered a lot of it through hypnosis.
Yeah, apparently, but witness statements corroborated what she got out of hypnosis. So it says here, Hopkins, as to be expected, had been ridiculed by many of his peers, but has been steadfast in searching out the consistent underlying themes that run through alien abduction cases. Napolitano's case is remarkable and unique in itself, although following the general abduction pattern on some points. More than a year after Quarterly's experience, Hopkins received a mail correspondence from two witnesses known as Richard and Dan, who claimed to have actually seen the abduction. Doubtful at first about these witnesses, their claims would ultimately be a building block of the case itself. Agreeing perfectly with Linda's account of the abduction, the two men were bodyguards of a senior United Nations statesman who was visiting Manhattan. The diplomat would eventually be identified as Javier Perez de Cuellar, who, according to his two bodyguards, was visibly shaken while viewing the surreal scene. These three men encountered an unbelievable sight: the plight of a woman being floated through the air, and not only that, but three entities were also being floated, accompanying her on a short trip to a massive hovering flying craft. It's
interesting.
In Linda's own words, I'm standing up on nothing, and they take me out all the way up, way above the building. Oh, I hope I don't fall. The UFO opens up almost like a clam, and then I'm inside, said a 41-year-old at the time, Linda. I see benches similar to regular benches, and they're bringing me down a hallway. Doors open like sliding doors. Inside are all these lights and buttons and a big long table. I don't want to get up on that table. They get me on that table anyway. They start saying things to me, and I'm yelling. I can still yell. One of them says something that sounds like Nobieg. I think they were trying to tell me to be quiet because he put his hand over my mouth. The high level of security clearance and professionalism required for the two bodyguards position would be no help in dealing with what they had seen, what they had witnessed. What they witnessed that night will become a curse to them, having a deep impact on their lives for years to come.
Interesting.
They would become irrational, psychotic, and one of them would become to think of Linda as having some unusual, extraordinary power or influence on others. He began to stalk her. Did he somehow blame Linda for his emotional behavior and fear? Or would his involvement be a threat to his livelihood? The actions of the two bodyguards, whom would later be revealed as CIA agents, presented a strange enigma to Hopkins. On April 29, 1991, they kidnapped Linda, bundled her into the car in broad daylight, and quizzed her for 3 hours. Oh man, like imagine being abducted by aliens
and then abducted by two CIA agents.
Yeah. Dan became increasingly upset with Linda as she repeatedly stated that she had no idea why the abduction had happened. Linda would be kidnapped a second time by the men who tried to pry information from her, thinking she had part in the alien abduction herself, which brought them into the case involuntarily. One of the agents, Richard, stated that there was an oval-shaped object hovering over the top of the apartment building 2 or 3 blocks up from where we sat. We didn't know where it came from. It happened too fast. Its lights turned from a bright reddish orange to a whitish blue coming out of the bottom. Green lights rotated around the edge of the saucer. A little girl or woman wearing a white gown sailed out of the window in a fetal position and then stood in midair in this beam of light. I could see the 3 of the ugliest creatures I have ever saw. I don't know what they were. They weren't human. Their heads were out of proportion, very large heads with no hair. Those buggers were escorting her into the craft. My partner screamed, "We have to get them." We tried to get out of the car but couldn't. After the woman was extorted, the oval turned reddish orange and then it whisked off again.
And this all happened in Brooklyn?
Yeah, supposedly right at the Brooklyn Bridge is where these two people were, these 2 CIA officers or
where they viewed her getting abducted
where they
into
view
some
her.
alien craft.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So this happened in 1989 in Brooklyn. I mean, did you hear of anything like that?
No, I mean, it happened in 1989. Shit, I could have been riding around right by there.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
because I used to go a lot by there, especially when I used to hang out in Lower Manhattan with my boys.
Well, it says here, look, it says hold on, let me add. It says they have additional eyewitnesses stated. It says hold on. Hopkins' investigation will gain additional momentum when more witnesses to the event will come forward with their stories. As was the usual, Hopkins kept the details of his case private until they reached a certain level of credibility. The additional eyewitnesses stated that they too had seen the abduction that night from the Brooklyn Bridge. The witnesses, one of which was Janet Kimball, thought that they were watching the filming of a scene from an upcoming sci-fi film. because New York is popular
Right,
for.
very popular for filming.
She was a retired telephone operator. Soon, telephone operator. Wow, what a old job.
Yeah.
Soon, Hopkins could not keep the lid on the
Napolitano
abduction any longer. The case will take a dramatic turn when Hopkins finally discovered that the identity of the United Nations representative and the third man as Javier Perez de Cuellar, the former Secretary General of the United Nations. Naturally, Hopkins' dream would be to get Cuellar to go public with his acknowledgement of the facts of the abduction, which will bring the case and the entire alien abduction question to a sensational level of acceptance within the public's eye and the scientific community. Although Cuellar responded with Hopkins and verified the abduction, he explained to Hopkins that he could not go public for obvious reasons. Cuellar went even as far as to meet privately with Hopkins to discuss details of his observations that night, but demanded that he remain anonymous.
Wow.
So yeah.
So this happened in Brooklyn in 1989.
A Brooklyn abduction in 1989.
Interesting. Not that I'm surprised, because a lot of weird stuff, happens.
But
in that area.
What's unique to us is that we are New Yorkers through and through, and we have a lot of people out there in New York that could have been in the general vicinity. So if you are listening to us out and you were in Brooklyn in 1989, do you remember a UFO around the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yeah,
supposedly, and if you keep going down into this story, supposedly this UFO, after they beamed her up into the craft, it dove into the East River. Because now we know these things, they're submersible vehicles too.
Right.
So supposedly it dove. It didn't fly into space. It dove into the East River.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get starting. Let's start getting prepared.
Yes,
for the Spirit Sisters.
So you heard the tone. So that means it's time for our break. And after the break, the Spirit Sisters will be on.
All right.
All right.
Light yourself on fire! Come on, you moral crusaders, let's see a little smoke to match that fire in your belly. Here's another question I have. How come when it's us, it's an abortion, and when it's a chicken, it's an omelet? Hey. Hey. What? Are we so much better than chickens all of a sudden? When did this happen? And we passed chickens in goodness. Name 6 ways we're better than chickens. See, nobody can do it. You know why? Because chickens are decent people. You don't see chickens hanging around in drug gangs, do you? You don't see a chicken strapping some guy to a chair and hooking up his nuts to a car battery, do you? When's the last chicken you heard about came home from work and beat the shit out of his hen? Huh? Doesn't happen, because chickens are decent people.
Well, we're back from the break, and now we're gonna call.
Let's call the Spirit Sisters. Let's see what they're up to, and let's find out.
Let's see what they're all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Pyramid Podcast.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're very welcome. And we are live right now on the Pyramid Podcast. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. If you guys are listening, just drop a comment. This is the Spirit Sisters. Welcome.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you guys
yeah, we're fascinated about the whole like spirit realm. I had mentioned in the emails and the correspondence that my father had done some paranormal investigative research as in the 90s,
early 90s,
which
yes.
was the soil that grew this podcast.
Yeah, that's very cool.
How did
That's
you guys
really
start? What got you guys into this particular
field?
Well, so we had 6 people on the team right now. We all know each other very well. We've essentially members of 2 families on the team. So myself, I grew up in a family home that was built by my great grandfather, and there was always activity in that house. Always, always.
Oh wow.
From the time I was a little kid. And when I was little and didn't understand it, it really scared me. But as I got older and my grandmother, who I was very close to, passed away, and experiences started happening that seemed to be connected with her, I got more interested in the paranormal. And then as I got married and moved away, it seemed like every time I would move to a house, my husband and I would move, something would happen. I would smell my grandmother's perfume, or it was almost like she was dropping in to say, hey, okay, I'm still here. Even though you moved, I'm still around.
Wow.
Then I had my children. I had 3 daughters, 2 of whom are very, I guess you would say, sensitive or communicate with spirit. And so watching them have their experiences at a young age just got me even more interested in it. And it kind of grew from there. So I joined a local team here in Western Massachusetts several years ago, got interested. And although I think they did some really good work, I had some different ideas about how I might like to approach investigations. And so I kind of got the idea to leave that team. I took a break from the paranormal for about a year and a half and really missed it. And kind of had the idea with my best friend and one of my daughters to start our own team. So we started off very, very small. And over the last, it's been 3 years now. Over the last 3 years, we've grown our team, and now we're still pretty local. We branched out a little bit, but we're now working with some local cities and doing some big historic sites. We go and do presentations for them on findings that we've had at their locations. And but that's basically how I got into it. I can't really speak for others on the team. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about
who's with you? I'm sorry, we didn't get to
I'm sorry.
to determine who we're speaking with right now. So
Yes,
because
sorry.
there are a few of you. So who are we speaking with right now?
So there are currently 6 of us on the team. So I'm Carrie, and then my daughter, who's also on the team. Hi, I'm Amanda.
Oh, nice
to meet you.
I see you have your photos here on the website. So I'm putting it up for those that are listening. So you can see the website here. It's spiritsisters.org. So we were speaking with Carrie, and Amanda's also with you as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, nice to meet you guys.
Now I'm curious about one thing. Do you guys use any kind of equipment when you guys do your investigation?
We do. So we do have equipment. I will say that when we go in, we always like to lead with our gut and our instincts first. And then we kind of bring in the equipment to assist us. We don't totally rely on equipment only, but yes, we have cameras and motion sensors, recorders, EMF readers. We have an SLS camera. We've got, a lot of the stuff that anybody would see if they watch any kind of paranormal shows or anything like that.
Right.
utilize most of that.
Because
Yeah,
I'm always under the impression that, even though all those equipment that, paranormal investigators employ, I think that the best equipment is we're born with is us, our human body, and our instincts.
I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. I would
Go
with
ahead.
that. Being sensitive myself, I always tell people, like, trust your gut. Like, if you feel like something's there and people are like, no, nothing's there, it's probably just nothing. You're kind of like ignoring your own like gut sensations. You're kind of ignoring like actually that there could be something more. Because I was saying, like, you can't see the wind, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So like, if you're getting all these like feelings, or for me when I was a kid, when I would get these feelings or I would see spirits or like be able to even communicate with them, and I kind of realized that was real. I was like, no, this is real. Like, and that's the most powerful tool that I use when I investigate, which sounds cheesy, but it's true. A lot of it is just going with what you feel. And I think that's really important. Everyone's
I could imagine that's
capable.
hard to express to others that are not very tuned into this world.
Right.
That must be really
Right.
tough to explain. Like, a lot of it's feel, because we're very into that realm. My wife has actually was she practices something called santeria, which is like it deals a lot with spirits and that sort of realm. And I've seen things that I have never thought I would ever see, like people get possessed. My own sister got possessed, which I'd never seen that before, and it was very, very because right now she does readings and stuff like of that nature, and she's very sensitive to that sort of spiritual entity and spiritual energies. So I just over the course of my life, I was getting more and more proof that this stuff is real. But I could imagine to the people that have never seen this or never heard of anything, or living in their own sort of bubble, they don't tend to believe that this stuff is actually out there and it exists.
A lot of people don't, I think a lot of people might believe a little bit, but they're in the closet, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying?
How do you feel? How do you feel about it?
No, I mean, I feel like for people, unless it happens right in front of them, I mean, most people, they want to see like a full body apparition, right? Like, if I don't see a ghost, if a cabinet doesn't open in front of me, nope, I'm not going to believe anything.
Right.
And that's okay, but there's definitely I always say, like, I kind of freak myself out because it is hard to explain, because how do you explain something that's on like basically a different frequency, right? Like we use EMF detectors, like, so there's something to be said about that. Like it's almost like feeling a frequency. You can't explain it, but it's just like, but it is hard to explain that to people because, right, they do expect like the very Hollywood style haunts, which isn't realistic. Which is hard to convey because, we're people who just want to see it in front of our eyes. The world is all about seeing right now or having it now. But like when you don't have it and you can't explain that, especially tangibly, it's very hard to get that point across. So it can be kind of like a weird topic to talk about, but it's also valid for those who feel it, because it is frequency. That is a form of measurement. That's something to be said. People say it's spiritual. No, it's science. It's both, because you can't see it, but you feel it's something greater, but you can actually measure it. So it's pretty like, that's what I say to people. I'm like, that's why I say, the wind blows, but you can't see that. It's the only, it's the closest way.
Exactly.
Or the way I like to explain it is like dreams. Like, we all know that dreams exist, but no one can, and we explain it, and we have these vivid dreams, and people can express them, and they believe it wholeheartedly that they had this dream. But they're the only ones that experience that, and it's like try to get that out there. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: the process of I'm sorry. Let me let you finish your thought.
Oh no, you're good. Sorry, I thought you were saying something else. Go ahead.
The
Sorry.
process. How does it manifest? Like, if I have, like, let's say I feel that there's an entity or something roaming around in my house that I cannot explain, I call you guys up, and how does it work? What is your process in choosing a place to investigate?
My mama know a lot about that. She handles all that. Her and our other so Leah and I usually handle kind of the vetting of our clients. So we like to have a sit-down meeting or a phone meeting with our client first. We have a form that we complete that has to do with, their claims, their experiences, where the property is, what's going on there. And we like to figure out what it is the client is trying to get out of it, right? So do they want whatever might be there to be totally gone? Do they just want confirmation that they're not crazy and that there is something going on? Do they want to know that there's something there and they can live with it as long as it's not harmful? So we work with the client to figure out what it is that they're looking for. I think there was only one case so far that we did not actually take. We chose not to take it for a variety of reasons, but even though we didn't feel that it was a good fit for us, we did speak with that potential client and direct her in a way where we thought maybe she could get some assistance. So we don't just necessarily leave people, we don't just leave people hanging if we feel like there's a need.
Right. I can imagine there's a bit of risk involved for you gals as well, because my wife has done a lot of like spiritual cleansings and stuff like that, and she's had some negative effects. She had highs for a year after dealing with some kind of, we don't know if whether it was a demonic entity or what kind of entity, but she definitely, like, she was like cleansing the house, and because in her religion she has a specific way and how she goes about it, and the last thing is, like, she leaves she takes that whatever it is that she picked up and she goes out the entrance, and as she was about to leave, like the doors just slammed shut, and she was like overwhelmed. She felt like she couldn't finish, and she just mustered through it and just got it done. But then after that moment, she had highs for a year, which no doctor could help her with, and she tried all kinds of medications. Nothing helped. Ultimately, her getting pregnant was the one thing that really changed her hives. But she was suffering miserably, gaining weight on prednisone just from dealing with a spiritual entity. So for those out there that think that this isn't real or it can't affect you, it can. So I could imagine, how do you guys assess like the risk involved in taking a client?
And how do you guys protect yourself from anything attaching itself to you guys?
Yeah. So that's part of our vetting process. So, it's important for us to know what we're going into, not only with the client, to be honest, because we don't know who these people are and they don't know who we are either. So there's a level of safety from the living, right? First of all. Then there's that level of safety, excuse me, with the spirit world. Because like you're saying, you don't know what you're getting into. And we are not demonologists. That's a whole separate thing, right? That's like you go to your regular doctor and then you have a specialist, right? It's the same. That is like something we don't mess with. So we have a series of questions to kind of filter that out. And like I said, we have some resources that maybe we would refer people out to. And that was kind of the case with the one that we did not take. We felt that the client wasn't honest with us 100%. And we felt like by the client not being totally honest with us, it was going to have a negative impact on our physical safety and well-being. And so we opted not to take that case. But like I said, we did give her some resources. And then when we do go into a case, we do research on the property as best we can. I mean, this is a hobby for us, right? So although we're serious about it, we all have full-time jobs. We all have lives. So we're fitting in the research and the review and all this stuff in our personal time. But we will research as much as we can. And then before we go out to a case, and when we get to a case, those of us that are on the team actively right now, we are all Christian. So we opt. Or spiritual. Right. Okay. So Christian or spiritual. Right. Okay. So we opt to do a prayer, the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, at the beginning in a circle with our clients. We will stand in a circle, hold hands. We do an Our Father. We allow some time of moment of silence, if you will, for reflection. And then for anybody that has other beliefs to kind of take a moment and focus on their own religion or beliefs or form of protection. Some of us do also believe in the power of stones and gems and crystals, and so
I'm
some
a
of us
big
will,
believer of that.
Oh yeah.
So we will often carry around either rosary beads or crystals in our pockets or added layers of protection. And if at any point during an investigation we truly feel that something is unsafe, we will end the investigation right there. Safety is number one for us.
So how do you determine that? Because like one of the things that my fiance or my wife, she would tell me is that once you kind of like step onto the platform, and once you kind of like engage with it, there's a rich, like certain things that need to happen. Like once you start, you can't just give up. You just got to go all the way through to the end at this point. So how do you make sure that you're not getting to that point where you can't turn back?
I think part of it starts at the very beginning with the vetting, right? So if there's a question of anything demonic, that case is not for us. Because like I said, none of us are trained demonologists. A couple of us have actually taken courses in demonology, but we are not demonologists.
How would you know that you have a demonic entity? Like,
well, you don't, right? You don't necessarily, because they're tricky and
but there's a typical pattern, right? So if it's like a regular kind of like hunt, all right, well, I don't want to say regular, but I guess a more typical one, like, oh, the door might have opened a little, or you feel a little gush of wind, or you think you hear a voice, or like this very like mild, things that'll happen. Typically dealing with like, and then it kind of varies in intensity. Like if you can have a cranky spirit, and maybe it's just like it'll slam a rough door, but no one's getting hurt, and it's just trying to make some noise. Then you have the ones that it escalate. They'll try to take you over, like, or you'll wake up with like scratches, or you'll get unexplainable like hives, like you were saying, like with your wife. Things can get more violent. It's kind of like, oh, someone pushed me down the stairs, or I felt a hand grab me, and then I had a scratch on me. That's how you kind of know it's really probably demonic. There's also the telltale signs, or like the three scratches. They say it's like kind of like mocking the Trinity. So there's some varying levels of intensity, like warning signs that were kind of like, okay, that doesn't sound like
so
the kind.
It could be that my wife encountered a demon. Then
it's possible.
It's a broad spectrum too, because even demon is like, a demon could be anything. I mean, let me tell you, if you believe in all different kinds of like myself, I have Christian roots, but ultimately I don't know the word for it, but I believe in all kinds of spirituality, Hinduism, like Norse mythology, Christianity.
Oh, we're very similar in that. I think it's like a Christian 2.0 kind of thing. Like we're very including of all of them. I think that's what kind of Jesus wanted in the first place, to include everybody in some way.
Right. So it's kind of like, right, if you believe in like all things, then you got to think like all of these different like spirits or fairies and sprites and all these kind of things you always hear about lore that people think aren't made up, but then at the same time people swear it happened to them. So I kind of think of it like that too. Like it could be a demon, or it could be like some other tricky little
like an
entities.
elemental.
Yeah, like there are different styles of haunts and different types of paranormal like creatures, if you will, or beings. So maybe it wasn't a demon per se, and maybe what a client of ours is dealing with isn't a demon, but maybe it's something else that maybe still doesn't have great energy, but it's still manipulative. And past a certain point, you have to send it to someone who's qualified to deal with that, no matter what it is.
Right.
I've been on a case before where we didn't even know there was a bad spirit there, and we think something that's called an elemental. They're almost like a creature of the wood kind of type haunt. It showed itself to a group of us. It was one of the craziest things that's ever happened. And that wasn't a demon per se. That was classified as like an elemental. But still, we were like, nope, not going back there.
No.
I'm not going back there till someone who is qualified to handle that kind of haunt deals with it. And if you find yourself facing that, it's like maybe you reach out. And if you practice a specific like religion or spirituality, or even if you know that that type of haunt stems from a particular, spiritual background, like say you're dealing with the spirit of like Native American spirituality or Christian spirituality, you would want to also find someone who is able to deal with that spirit on a spiritual level from the other side, like getting a priest or, like someone who practices Wicca, a shaman. Like you really want to find the appropriate help no matter what it is. But like past a certain point, we won't take a case because it sounds unsafe. So we just cut it off from the beginning and just kind of deal with more.
Yeah. I mean, but to your point, once you're in there, so we did have one case where actually during the investigation, one of the tenants in the home had scratches appear on him. And so we were kind of like, all right. And through some EVP sessions, it was determined that there was a very
EVP meaning electronic voice phenomena.
Yes, correct. Electronic voice phenomena. Right. So what actually would happen, I don't know if you're familiar with the spirit box, so for your listeners who aren't familiar with spirit box, there's a tool called the spirit box that we were utilizing during this. We were also doing EVPs,
right, which is very, very popular with investigators.
Yeah. So we kind of have done some interesting stuff with that, but we were using it the typical way. We had an investigator, noise canceling headphones on, and the spirit box was sweeping radio stations, producing white noise. So the theory is spirit may be able to speak and the person can hear it through that white noise. So throughout this session where we had an investigator on the spirit box, we could just tell that whoever was there, it was a very aggressive entity that was kind of drowning out other spirit energies that were there and wanted to communicate. It was kind of overtaking all of them and pushing them back. And then we had scratches appear on one of the tenants. And so that was a night where we kind of said, this is enough. You are not in control. This is not your home. This is not your space. This is their home and this is their space. And we encourage the homeowners to verbalize that themselves. We did do a thorough cleansing of that home, utilizing sage, opening up the windows and the doors, burning white candles. We used some prayer. And then after that, we stepped outside with the homeowners. We gave them some suggestions and some support. Things calmed down a little bit. We did go back out to that location a few weeks afterwards and did another cleansing and another prayer. And after that, things just kind of stopped in that home. So it's not like we just said, oh, hell no, we're done with this. We're running out the door and leaving you guys on the hook. No, it wasn't like that. But we did kind of say, enough. You're not in control here. These are the boundaries that the homeowners are setting, and you need to abide by them. And this is what it is.
And what would you say? Why would a spirit like get attached to a particular home? Like, because when you transition, usually, you go to the next level of your life. Usually, if you believe in heaven, you go to heaven. What makes a spirit stick around and inevitably haunt a place? Because I always think, the whole, Beetlejuice thing, where they're like, they don't know they're dead, and then they all of a sudden like, wait a minute, we're dead.
Right.
We didn't go to the other side, and like, what makes it, in your opinion, what makes a spirit haunt a place?
I don't know. I mean,
that's another one that's like kind of like multiple answers.
Yeah, I don't
so
think there's any one answer.
It could be that the particular spirit or energy has an attachment to the land before that structure was there, or maybe they passed away within the structure and they just decided to either stay back or for some reason were trapped, like they needed help being released to the other side. It could be object attachment, like you could, antiques. Everyone talks about, haunted antiques or haunted old dolls and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, yeah. So like, it could attach itself there, or
they have unfinished business.
Or maybe they're trying to get through to someone. Like I personally know of a case that a spirit had attached to the granddaughter's wife.
Who was a spirit
medium. So this person's wife's grandmother passed away, and the grandmother went through the wife's wife to speak to her because she was a spirit medium. So because she had final words, like she was actually, I don't want to say possessed because she was a friendly soul, but she was taken over. And it was the voice of the grandmother who was speaking.
Because she had
she had
messages for her family that she didn't get to convey before she passed.
So she attached to a person. Like sometimes they're trying to convey a message. It could be.
We've had that happen. We've had somebody that, or we believe, because it's all theory, right?
Right.
But we did have a case of, the homeowner was convinced it was a demon, and we believe it really was it was a cranky guy. Like he wasn't a real friendly guy in life, and he wasn't a real friendly guy in death. And he was crazy, and he had probably done some things that he wasn't too proud of. And then when he actually passed, we believed that he was maybe afraid of what he was going to face. So he just didn't want to go. He did not want to go.
He was like afraid to see what the other side held. Like, sometimes it is. People still have fear on the other side.
Which kind of makes sense because, that happens to us. We're like afraid, of change. We have to leave, and we're like, no, it's happened to me. So it makes sense that it can happen in the spirit world as well.
Yeah,
right.
And any attachment that you have in life. I mean, I have like a childish explanation because I'm a child of the '90s, and video games was a very big part of my life. And as video games got more complicated, when there's a video game, Call of Duty, where when you get shot, when you get shot dead, now you have the option to hang around and watch everyone else still play, or you can go into the next game and continue on. Now some people, 95%, or I would even venture to say 99% of the people, they don't have no interest in sticking around and watching other people have fun, right? But there are those very few people that maybe have like their buddy in the game, or somebody that they're attached to that's in that game, where they'll just hang around just to like sit there and watch. So I would gather that the attachment to whatever it is here in life. If you really are attached to life here, in death, you're probably going to want to still be attached. You have that option to just continue on, or you can just kind of linger on and see how's things going on. I mean, if you want to see the future and you want, what is it going to look like in the next 100 years? I'm like, let me hang out around. Because like there's a story called, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called The Egg, and it's very interesting. Where it's by it's a short. Yes, Kurt. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I do not. Please
Oh,
share.
okay. Well,
Go ahead.
it's a short story that explains like it's basically explaining what happens to you after you're dead. You know, the guy wakes
Mhm.
up, he found out died in a car accident, and he encounters some entity, and he's like questioning like what happened, you know, and he's like, okay, well, you're dead. And after he starts wondering like, okay, and now what happened to my wife and my kids? And the entity's happy that he's thinking about the people that are there, that he left behind. And he explains to him like, you know, unfortunately, you know, your marriage wasn't that great, it was on the rocks, so your wife is going to be slightly relieved that you're dead, but she's going to feel bad about that.
Ouch.
So like he's
Mm.
like, you know, it's like a serious like real like life situation, like you died suddenly, what happens? And this entity proceeds to explain that, you know, what we are experiencing in life is just a fraction. It's like a finger dip of what we are, you know. And
Yep.
what this is like some kind of like simulation, and
Yep.
whereby through all these interactions we can kind of understand who we are.
Mhm.
But it goes into further and saying that, you know, that everybody that we encounter is another version of ourselves. Like it's just like we're
Yeah.
looking at
Wow.
ourselves through like a fractured glass, and or through
Mhm.
like mirrors pointed at each other, where they look like there's lots of different versions of you, but in reality they're all boiled down to you. So what's
Mhm.
interesting is that it says that incorporates reincarnation, where after you die, you encounter this entity, which is kind of like a god, and he explains to you
Mhm.
that you are similar to him, but we're just like a baby, and that we are still have yet to learn who we really are, and ascend to the level of gods, like the entity that encountered us. And the story then says that you know, uh not to bother with that, you know, you're not going to understand that too much. And anyway,
Mhm.
we're gonna send you right back in. And he says, now you're gonna be an Asian woman in 19 or in the 17th century. He's like, wait, what?
Mhm.
What do you mean? And they're like, yeah, like time isn't linear, and we're gonna send you all throughout time and whatever.
Mm.
So then like
Wow.
it opens up the thought, like he was thinking, and the character was like, wait a minute, so I'm everybody? And he's like, yeah. He's like, so I'm Hitler
Mhm.
then? He's like, yeah, you're
Wow.
Hitler, and you're the Jews he killed, and
Oh.
you're your mother, and you're your father, and you're your daughter, and everyone that
Mm.
you interact with, the person in the store that you bought something, that's another version of you, just living in
Mhm.
a different time period. And so when you die, you encounter this being, and he sends you into another life, and we're not aware of it because when we're born, you know, we don't remember anything. So
Mhm.
and then we go through the challenge of discovering who we are, and then by the time we figure it out, we have to do it all over again.
Wow.
And
It sounds
Kurt Gazat
wild,
does it really
but
well.
they do it
Wow.
so well. That's the exact version I'm thinking of. It's anyone, y'all need to, I don't know if you have links, but link that somewhere for people to view.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
so many people before they're like, you're crazy. I'm like, what? That is beautiful. Like,
Yeah, you know,
that's the meaning of life right there.
yeah, and what's crazy for me about that story is that
That you're talking about that animation thing.
yeah,
It's quite beautiful, actually.
Yes.
So good.
And for me, what was interesting about that story was that a couple months before, I was with my cousin, and we were hanging out in Boston, and he happened to take an edible, which apparently he's not his body does not very work well with it.
Oh dear.
And he kind of like left the build, like he was there physically, but his mind was no longer with us, and he like
Wow.
left this realm, and we were scared. We called the ambulance. He was like
Oh
basically unconscious for quite
My God.
like a couple hours. But what was so amazing is that when he woke up, or when he finally came to his body, because he was kind of awake, but he was like a shell, like a person that wasn't, there was nobody in there. Like
It was
he
like
could move.
hollow.
Yeah, he can move, he can do stuff, but he was just not my cousin. So after he came to, he told me of this story. He said that, first he was seeing himself like down to a pixel, and then it started expanding, and he was seeing himself as in 2D space and in 3D space, and then it expanded to all of the universe, and then he met some entity, and this entity was explaining to him that he is everyone, like he is Hitler. Exactly those words. He said that he is Hitler and the Jews, and he is everyone. And he told me this, and then 2 months later, I see this video, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" So I go to him and I explain to him, like, "Dude, you got to see this video." He was like, "Meh." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, you explained this to me. You never saw this before. You never and this guy is very practical. He's a software engineer. He's very he's a practical person. So him saying this is like very out of character. So I'm like, you come up with this crazy story. I happen to have an animation video of it, and you go, "Meh." Unimpressed. I was like, wow,
right?
He does, and I got more of a spiritual experience from that than he did.
Wow.
No, it's a deep video. It's gonna hit people harder than others for sure. Like, because like I said, I've shown it to people and they're like, "Oh yeah, looks cool." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing, and I wonder if that is close to what the truth is. I wonder. I guess we'll find out one day.
Yeah, and that's what I always think. Everyone likes to fight about the diversities of their own faiths, whatever it is. But it's at the end of the day, a lot of them basically have similarities all throughout. No matter where the origin end is, it is all pretty much the same. Even in the way that the plants grow. Okay, like even in life and death, it's all the same story throughout. That's what people have to focus on, and that's why that story is deep. That story is like, everyone watch it right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I found it to be profound.
Yeah,
and beautiful. Like the explanation kind of gave me peace. I was like, wow.
And I didn't do it justice. You have to watch the animation because I didn't do it justice.
We got to put a link on our website.
Yeah, for sure. Now I have to go look for it.
I have it saved on in my saved videos on YouTube.
Now, with that being said, I wanted to go back because you had
before you continue, I just want to let the audience know we're talking with the Spirit Sisters of Western Massachusetts.
That's right. That's right. So I wanted to just go back because you had touched on the story, and I want to dive into it, which was the entity. What was it that you called it? The elemental?
Elementals.
So can you tell me a little bit about that particular experience, and get a little deep into it? How did this happen? How did you encounter it?
All right. So we were a lot of events. We have a lot of like different people we know in this field. So, and some of them hold their own like events. So we, what event were we going?
This was at an event. This is at a public location that anybody can check out. It is at the Winchendon Historical Society in Winchendon, Massachusetts. So if anybody's interested in going to investigate, you go for it.
Are you taking notes, Mr. Ernesto? Because it sounds like a place that we wanna kind of
definitely.
So continue.
So we went in, like Amanda said, it was somebody that we knew that was having an event. So, we'd like to support others in the field. So Amanda and I went to this event, and we were able to have small breakout groups and kind of go and investigate the building, in any way that we wanted to.
Take our own equipment and kind of like.
So I think most of the group wanted to go to the basement, and Amanda felt very strongly, for whatever reason, she's like, I have no business being in that basement. And like we said at the top of the, story here, like, we follow our gut. So when Amanda, being sensitive, tells me we've got no business being in the basement, I say, okay, we are not going to the basement. So instead, it was Amanda, me, and another woman who we didn't know decided instead to go upstairs. So we started on the second floor, and we're going through this mansion, which has a really interesting history, which you can find on our website. I don't recall all of the details, but at any rate, this was somebody's home at one point, right? You know, a wealthy family's home.
Okay.
So we're going through the second floor where the bulk of the bedrooms are, and there are some bathrooms, and there is a small staircase that leads up to the third floor. That back when it was a private residence was for some staff and nurseries for the small children. We're on the third floor originally. So we're on the second floor first, and we're just kind of passing through. And we said, yeah, let's just go up to the third floor. Because really, like, in all of these cool historic homes, like, isn't most of the story where, like, the people who work here actually is, like, they had the stories, right?
Right.
So let's go up to the third floor. So as we're making our way to this staircase that goes to the third floor, we happen to look, and there was a light on in the back, what is now an office. And the door was closed, right? So, but we're like, but there's a light on. That's weird.
You see it underneath the door.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, there's nobody here, but that's weird. We'll make a note of it, whatever. When we come down, if we feel it, we'll go and check it out, whatever.
So you're navigating this whole place with flashlights?
There were some, and it depends on where you go. Sometimes it's very dark. Other times, like this place, because it's a public place and, you know, liabilities, you know, you keep a few lights on, especially for people who have like, you know, handicap issues and everything. Like, it's just good to have a few lights on for people in a big setting like that. So there was like I don't know, like a small hall light on. It was like a little Victorian wall lamp, like, you know. So it's not like the place was like fully illuminated, but it wasn't dark. So you could still tell though from underneath the door a light was on, and all the other rooms like off of the lit hallway were dark.
Right.
Okay.
Because so the light's going on.
So we're like, well, that's
going
weird. So we go upstairs. We do our thing on the third floor. Nothing really happens. We're like, all right, we'll go back downstairs. So we go back down to the second floor, and we look over, and the light is off. We're like, well, that's weird. And we're like, hey, is anybody up here, you know, thinking living humans, maybe they've come up from the basement.
Right.
And we get a response, and we say, well, that's weird. And I said, maybe, I mean, because that room is now used as an office, right, for people that work here. So maybe it's one of those motion sensor lights. Let's go check it out. So we go down there. It is not a motion sensor light. The light is totally off. It does not turn on unless we turn the light switch on. We're like, oh, all right, that's a little uncomfortable and a little weird, but let's, you know, we're investigators. Let's do this. Put on our goals, So we go in to this room, and there is like an attached bathroom at the back of the room.
But it's like before the bathroom, though, it was like a pantry.
Yeah,
like
it was an odd setup.
An office pantry, but at the back of the pantry there was a bathroom. So it was like, I don't know, it was a weird setup.
I was a realtor for a while. I love old homes. They have weird things like that. Weird pantries next to a bathroom, or a bathroom in the kitchen. Like, what makes you put a bathroom in the kitchen?
It was weird. So, but we're going through this often, and honestly, I was bringing up the rear of the group. It was you and the other woman.
Me and this other woman were going on because, like, we had before we got in the room too. Like, the switching of the lights was escalating. Like, we were like seeing it go on and off, and we're like, what? And so we go in and like we figure out, it's not a motion sensor. So we're going forward. The woman who we're with goes ahead of me. And you know what? No, I think there was also one other guy or something with us.
I don't remember.
There might have been one other person, because I remember there being two people in front of me, or maybe an extra one in the back. Either way, we're going through the pantry, and someone's like, hello, like, is anyone in here? And they go to like open up the bathroom door because it's dark, and we knock and no one's there, no one answers. And we're going, and the guys, and I just had this feeling all of a sudden. I was like, nope, get out, go. And I started to turn. I was like, go. And everyone's like, what? And sure enough, the people in front of me in the bathroom were like, oh my God, run. And we all start like running out. I was like, no. And I run out, and I said, that he saw, like he started to pull back the shower curtain. Now this is classic Hollywood, y'all. But this does not happen ever. So, take it with a grain of salt too. But, anyway, so he sees like a, I don't know, yay high, like 3 feet maybe.
3 foot
little
high.
pitch black dark shadow just starting to like, yep, starting
Oh, no.
I was like, what was that? Like, we're all freaking out. Everyone comes up from the basement. They're like, what happened, guys? Like, how's it going? How's your night going? We're like, what? You didn't even know what we just saw? Like, nope, don't go upstairs. We're not going upstairs. Like, see you later.
So the funny thing after that was the curator was there and he said, it's really interesting that you guys actually had that experience because I've had several other psychic mediums do walkthroughs in here that tell me we have an elemental here.
Oh.
And the elemental is here by the limestone in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, what? And also thanks for telling us like at the start of the night,
And also too, someone who we had worked with on like a previous team in the past, or was it who? Someone got visited by it outside their home, or was it the woman who we were with on the investigation? The woman who was hosting.
Yeah, it
visited her in her home. So the thing about elementals, for all y'all who are like, well, what the devil is an elemental? Well, it's like a little gnomey.
It's an entity that never walked the earth, right? It's not human. It was never human. But it is contrived of the elements of the earth, right? So air, water, earth,
fire.
Fire, right. So it is contrived of the elements of the earth, and it exists. So so gnomes, elves, all of these things that you hear about, it's kind of that realm. And some are good, some are mischievous, some are not so good, but they can travel. Yeah, they can absolutely travel.
Like they can like teleport or something. I don't know. Because they showed up at this woman who was hosting it, who's also a psychic medium. She was like visited by this in her home. And then we brought it up to her and she was like, oh my God, yeah, like I totally felt that thing here.
Wow.
So the thing, just why it was hanging out, we don't know, but it was, and it was kind of like,
and I mean, it kind of felt like it wasn't necessarily evil, but it was more like a trickster, or like maybe, I just want to mess with you.
Know.
Oh, it sounds like my father over here.
Trickster that's more bad than good, though. Almost.
Yeah, like not
just like
nice, but not like evil, demonic, but I don't know.
Up to the good, a little nicer,
Yeah, little meanie.
But it was a wild experience, and the fact that we had like seen it was almost like kind of like, hey, look at me, I'm over here with the lights, right?
Yeah,
right. It's almost it has to go in there.
Yeah.
But also too, at the same time, was like, don't go in the basement. So I also feel like that hides out in dark places there, and that's where like a lot of its stuff. And I don't know if this is true for any listeners or people who are like sensitive, like if you're sensitive, things like that tend to want to get your attention because they know you can see them.
Absolutely.
Which sounds crazy. Like, I was like, nope, I'm not going back there. Like, no, it hasn't followed me home, but, let's not manifest that.
Right.
It's just, it was insane. That was probably one of the...
So how many investigations have you guys participated in?
Oh my gosh.
As a team or collectively, because we got a track record.
Right. I mean, so we have our team. We were on a team before this, and then we've done, like I said, some private things. So, oh God, I don't know. It's probably in the... And then for every investigation, we do at least 2 investigations.
Yeah, like follow-up investigations.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we're probably in the couple hundreds at least.
Wow. That's a great repertoire. I mean, in that field, that's not easy to come by. So
no,
but you guys said something very interesting in the beginning. There are people that are noticing things in their home, and some people just want validation. Some people want to know Is it evil or is it benevolent? Can I live with it? Some people want to get rid of it. And some people just do not understand what's going on. So you guys come in and if you do feel that there's an entity or a spirit or something going on, that gives peace of mind to the person that thinks, am I going crazy? It's like validation.
Right.
Yeah, that's important.
Especially in this environment that we live in,
Yeah.
information and disinformation and all this stuff. Like, it's hard for get people to understand the simple things of life, let alone complex and spiritual.
And this is a subject like you cannot tell everybody.
That's the thing,
because like my son said, I've been drawn to the paranormal for a long time because of experiences I had when I was young. I was living in an apartment, in Manhattan, in New York, 202 Mott Street. And in this apartment, I would see things like shadowy figures. And I would tell my mom, me being a little boy, and I would tell my mom about it. And my mom would brush it off. But then, as we continued to live there, my father's demeanor changed. He became like this mean person. And it just degraded. And at one point, my Pablo had mentioned about, bathtubs in the kitchen. But we had a bathtub in the kitchen. And my parents had just a huge argument. So my dad is on one side of the apartment, we're at the other side of the apartment. In the middle of the night, he sees like this glowing, like angel-like virgin, like the Virgin Mary kind of thing, grab him by the feet. At the same time, my mother's experiencing this and grabs my mother by the feet, and my mother wakes up. So she follows this angelic being, and my father's doing the same on the other side of the apartment. And in the dark, my parents bump into each other, and they're like telling me, "What are you doing?" And my mom is like, "What are you doing?" And they explain of what they saw, and they corroborate that it's the same thing. And it was like they felt that this particular apparition was telling them to leave.
Oh, wow.
So the decision was made, and they start packing up, and we're about to move. The movers are outside, and there's this tenant that lived in the floor beneath us. And she never had talked to my mother before, but on this day, when she saw my mother was leaving, she went to my mom and said, "Listen, I have to tell you something." And I was hesitant to tell you this, not only because of the subject matter, but because I actually was threatened not to tell you.
Oh, man.
And what had happened was my father got into this apartment because the rent was very cheap. And the landlord had told, this tenant that lived beneath us, who was like the oldest tenant in that building, not to say what had happened. So she goes on to my mom and says that in that apartment we were living in, our family had gotten massacred in that apartment.
Oh,
wow.
And if we're leaving because we were seeing things, this is the reason that we are seeing things. Because like 20 years before we moved in, this had happened. And the landlord, every time he rented that apartment, the people would leave within weeks. we were the only ones that stuck around for 5 years.
Wow.
So ever since then, I saw a lot of strange things that I cannot explain. I mean, one time my sister and I were in bed and some dude crashed through. Remember I was telling you? Some dude crashed through the window and landed on our bed, looks around the apartment, and then bolts out the door. We're like, what the hell just happened? So this is what
New York City in the 80s.
So this is what launched my curiosity with the paranormal. You know, and it's a lot of people, you know, I'll tell you guys this because we're of like minds, but you cannot tell this to everybody.
Well, not everybody will accept it or
No.
A lot of people think you're crazy. A lot of
Well,
people,
that's it. Try to find people that are fascinated or that are freaked out.
Or skeptical and some, a little judgy.
Well, or they think you're nuts. You know, I mean,
you just learn to live with it, but
like whatever.
But it's still true to you because that's the thing is like what happened. I'm sorry, it's like you saw that, you witnessed it. Like that's something.
Oh yeah.
Well, here's where you guys come into play because you're living in this place, you're seeing these things happening, you're feeling these things, you're afraid, to talk to your best friend, like they're gonna be like, dude, are you doing drugs? Like, but you're an outlet. Like they reach out to you, and now that person has someone to talk to, and devise a plan on how either they live with it or they get rid of it. It's important what you guys are doing.
And it's similar to what we try to do here. We try to, get your stories out there, and those that are listening, have them be validated as well. But we can only go so far because we're not experienced in this realm as much as you gals are. So it's like it's hard to go beyond the conversational part for me, because I've seen things on the other end that just really scare me, and some things that are like I can't explain, that are really benevolent and angelic, almost like when my sister got possessed. I believe it was my wife's mother, and she had no malintent. It's just my wife has been missing her mom for so long. She lost her mother at 14, I believe, and she's been missing her mom. And my sister has that ability that she's just so sensitive to these sorts of things, and she just took that opportunity to just like you said, pass a message across. And
we've seen it. We've seen exactly that. I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's very interesting to see that, but it's also interesting to see like the people that don't believe, and their blatant disbelief, or their just dismissal of that sort of realm. I think most people are just afraid to even mention it. It's kind of like Voldemort kind of thing. It's like, if I mention it, then it happens,
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting is that, so those of us on the team, like I said, there are 6 of us, and I think most of us have significant others that want nothing to do with the paranormal. It's not that they're not believers, but they're like, nope, we don't want to go looking for. I think it makes them uncomfortable.
I see.
And a little scared. And so they just, they support us in what we do, but they just want no part of it.
And then we can understand that, not everybody is some people bungee jump. I will not bungee jump.
Yeah, you'll never catch Anesto on a bungee.
But I would go on an investigation. I would like to, I'm not afraid. That's
Where are you? Are you in New York?
No, we're in West Springfield.
We're in Western Mass. Yeah, we're West Springfield.
not big. You're like down the street.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to, just stay in touch. And if we have a
Absolutely,
case, you guys are big, you can come on out with us.
Awesome. Yes,
yeah, that'll
definitely.
be great. And for the listeners who are listening to us and watching us on thepyramidshop.com, if they are having this kind of problem in their home and where they live, how can they get in contact with you?
So they can either go to our website and they can message us through there, which is, like you said, spiritsisters.org. They can email us, which is
how we found you.
I don't email myself.
Yeah,
can you repeat that email address again?
Yeah, I have to. It's
Spirit Sisters 2019 at gmail.com.
Spirit Sisters 2019 at gmail.com.
And
yep.
It's very easy. You can go to their website. It's spiritsisters.org. And once you go on there, you can I believe it's under let's see. I'm on the website right now. Contact. There's a contact spot there. You can just contact them right there. And it's probably the best way to reach out. And I reached out to them and they contacted me within 24 hours of reaching out, which is I was not expecting that. We were scrambling for a guest for this because this was impromptu Friday the 13th podcast. Normally our podcasts are every Mondays at 8, but we decided to do impromptu every Friday the 13th. We'll be here casting. And for those of you that are with us right now, feel free to reach out to us at any time. On Mondays, we go live at 8 o'clock every Monday. So we encourage our listeners and our fans and our guests that if you happen to notice that you got a little slice of time and it's 8 o'clock and you want to give us a call, we welcome it.
Absolutely.
Because we like to hear any of the new things that you've been up to, any new investigations that you've been up to. And we call this little plot of land that we're in, we call this Narnia. And the little the vessel that we use to broadcast is the Nebuchadnezzar. So welcome to the Nebuchadnezzar. And you're more than welcome to come on anytime. One question I just wanted to ask before we let you go was that because we're both in Western Mass, is there any places that we should be avoiding? Is there any places any calls that you go pretty frequently?
Because let me tell you, Western Mass, is a spooky place.
I mean, we're from New York originally, so this is going to be Anesto's second or
my second year here. Yes,
this is going to be my first year here, so we're still learning the lay of the land. Yeah, we're still very, very green. This to us is like camping.
Glamping.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there are any real places to avoid. I can tell you some cool places if you want to maybe go say hey and see if you have some interactions.
Oh, okay.
We do partner. I don't know if you're familiar with the Big E Fairgrounds in West Springfield.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We live not too far away from there.
Yes.
There you go. So we are partnering with Swordston Village. We're in a 5-year partnership with them. We are in year 2 of that 5-year partnership to do their village. So we have done so far 2 buildings, 3 buildings.
Wow.
We have done 3 buildings for them so far in their village. We have 4 buildings. Geez, I'm losing count. We have had activity in every single one of those buildings. I will tell you that 2 of the coolest EVPs or electronic voice phenomenons we have ever captured, ever in doing this, was at the Swordston Village on the Big E Fairgrounds. One of them was inside of the Gilbert farmstead. It was a little boy, and we were actually able to research him, found his death certificate. Really a sad story. He died when he was just about 3 years old of an illness. And we believe we caught his voice on audio.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Wow. Oh man,
Yep, and
maybe
then
next
also-
time we have you on the cast, maybe we can play some of this stuff. That sounds amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd be happy to share that with you. And the other one that we captured that was really cool was a small child voice in the schoolhouse on the grounds there. So two of the clearest, coolest EVPs that we have ever personally captured have been
Wow.
on the Big E.
I would have never thought the Big E.
Wow.
A lot of history, and the staff there is great, and they set it up. It's good to go and support them and everything. They're a great bunch to work with, and also just the history is like you don't even believe it.
No,
You're like, I didn't know this
crazy.
was just sitting here. And
Yeah. Everybody goes to the Big E for like the food and the rides and the vendors and everything. Yeah, go
Right.
check out the village because that's where it's happening.
Huh.
Whoa, that's good to
and-
know.
That is very good to know.
Yeah. And then if you travel over to Holyoke, we are just starting a partnership with some historical locations here in Holyoke. We've done Wisteriahurst, which was a home of an owner of a silk mill, back in the 1900s.
I'm in
The Skinner-
Holyoke all the time, and let me tell
Yep.
you, my wife can
Yep.
tell you, Holyoke is paranormal. There's a lot of stuff. Every time I go there, my hairs stand up because I'm an
Yep.
Uber driver. That's
Yeah.
what I do to pay bills.
Okay.
So I'm there all the
Well-
time, and I'm like, oh, I just hit a patch because I'm very sensitive. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's
So
there's a particular mansion there, which is like
Is it
some.
Wisteriahurst?
It's like
Did you
some.
know?
It has two big lions in the front.
Yeah, that's it. That's Wisteriahurst. So we're in a partnership with them.
Oh, really?
That place
Yeah.
is active.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh,
Also
you
another
see,
great-
like
You see,
Wow.
you had a feeling.
yeah.
And how did you get a feeling for that?
Because when every time I drive by it,
Yeah.
the hairs on the back of I'm like,
Yeah.
what is it?
So
with this
let
place?
Amanda. So I don't know how soon you need to cut us off, but real quick, Amanda has a story about that place. if
Oh
we
yeah,
have
yeah,
time.
absolutely.
So I was always going to school every day. We would pass by that building, the Wisteriahurst Mansion, and on Beach Street, which is that main street there,
Right.
front of it. I was at the light, like right at the house, the traffic light right outside of there. And ever since I was a little kid, there was just something about it. Like I was like, no, there's someone there. And I would always see the silhouette of like a man standing in one of like the upper windows.
Oh
And I was
wow.
a little kid, I felt it. I just always knew he was there, and he was always just looking back at me. And I was like, who are you? But like,
Yo, the
I don't
hairs
know.
are standing on my because that same silhouette.
yeah,
I was
oh
like,
yeah.
am I seeing something?
Oh,
I drive
Yeah.
by there all the time, and I saw like a silhouette of a man on the on like the second floor.
Oh yeah.
And I'm
Yep.
like, what is that? And I'm like, no, I'm seeing things.
Oh my
Yep.
god.
But I felt like place is paranormal. Wow.
Yeah.
It has a lot of rich history there as well.
It's a beautiful home.
It is. I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued by the property because the property's
Yes.
huge.
Yeah.
Tours, I think they do tours,
They do tours.
and they do different events. If you go on, is it the City of Holyoke's website? Are they affiliated through there? Do they have their?
They are affiliated through the city, but I believe they have their own website.
Yeah, you can check out like different things. If
I
you-
can send you something if
Yeah.
you're interested, and then
Yes,
we can chat
absolutely.
more too offline. Yeah,
about
definitely.
that, and we just did a public event there back in October. So they do things like that even involve like just the history and other events as well as like paranormal stuff. So it's a cool place to check out.
Yeah.
And a beautiful property.
So in these partnerships that we're in with Wisteriahurst and Storeton, we kind of work with them and say, you let us in and we do these investigations. And of course, whatever the findings are in the reports that we have, are the property of those locations. But in addition to that, we're a nonprofit. We don't get anything out of it. No. This is a hobby, right? But what we will do, because we want to give back to communities, and especially to these museums and places that have fallen on hard times and they struggle to keep going, we offer our services. So we will let them utilize us and our materials, and we will do presentations for them about our findings and our investigations. And so we did this, like Amanda said, for Wisteriahurst back in October, and they actually raffled off 2 free investigations with us for 2 individuals to do at Wisteriahurst. So we're going to be setting that up.
Wow, that's cool.
That's really cool. It's been a real pleasure to get to know all of you. I mean, this was a shot in the dark. We weren't sure, but wow, this is a totally amazing. I'm blown away by all
And
the
I
stories.
got validation because I'm, I've been. One time I asked a writer, I was like, "Excuse me, who lives in that house?"
Oh, they're there. There were a few. Yeah.
And she tells me, "Oh no, that's like a museum." And like, she was a drummer. She said, "Oh, I played in that." I was like, "What?" I thought it was a residence, and I was gonna tell her that I saw this man like on the second floor, but I was like, let me not say anything.
Oh yeah. No, you saw him. I'm sure of it.
And I have believe it or not, I have a strange attraction to this place. Every time I go by, like it has these lions in the front that are amazing looking. They're like, and I'm like, why am I so attracted to this place?
Wow, I have to see this place.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take you.
Oh man,
we can go Monday really afterwards.
Oh, okay, that sounds great. Yeah.
We may have stuff from our first investigation there on our website. I honestly can't remember. Like I was saying in our text or emails to each other, we were on holiday break, so I have a lot of updating to do to our website. But I believe our first Wisteriahurst visit might be on there.
Oh, great!
If not, it will be. If not, it will be.
Oh, okay. I see here you have some of your investigations. Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wisteriahurst is that's it right there.
That's
Yep,
it.
that's
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very great. And before we let you go, is there anything that you'll like to leave to our audience out there? Any words of wisdom, anything that they would like to know or they should know about the spirit world before
and the spirit sisters themselves?
Well, we're always here to help, but I would just tell people, follow your gut, listen to your gut. If you think something's there, it probably is. And don't be afraid to set your boundaries or just talk to whoever you think might be there. You might be a little crazy, but you know what? It's okay. You're in a safe space. Go ahead and do it.
I like
and,
that.
if you need help, reach out to us. We are here and we are ready to help.
That's fantastic. Well, hopefully we open the door for more people to seek help and for more people to find that help with you. And we really appreciate you. And
thank you
hopefully
so much.
This isn't the last time. We really hope to have you back on the cast soon.
Good luck to you. This is a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Is there a book coming sometime in the future?
Yep.
Ask me what the egg was. Come on.
Oh, well, we hope more success for you in the future. And hopefully this hobby becomes a way that you could, pay your bills in the future. That's what we're trying to do here with this podcast. So, hopefully it does the same for us as it does for you.
Oh, I hope for you as well. That would be awesome for all of us. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we appreciate everyone, and we hope you have a great night.
Thank you so much for coming on the Parliament Podcast.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that was the Spirit Sisters.
Yes, our first interview. And they were great.
They were great.
They sound fun. They sound like they really like what they're doing. And it's
they're very involved. They're very involved.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this mansion, I go by at least once or twice a day.
Wow.
And I cannot stop going. I cannot go by there without stopping and admiring the property, but I got a strange attraction to it. And many times I seen a silhouette of a person in the window.
Wow.
So I'm like, are people living in there? That's why I asked the passenger. I'm like, who lives in that? And they were like, that's a museum. I was like, oh, I thought this was like. They were like, why are you at? I'm not, because the place, it's intriguing to me, and it's very intriguing because it has like I said before, it has these lions and it almost takes a whole block.
Wow.
It's huge. It's a huge property. Your mother's seen it. I took your mom there.
We definitely got to check it out. But yeah, I mean, before I reached out to several people. These were the only people that really responded within time frame, and they were really interested. And what they left off with, and what we started with the interview was, trust your gut, follow your gut. And you know what, my gut was saying that since we're doing an impromptu podcast, might as well, or episode, it would be nice to have a guest. So I went out and I set out to find a good guest for us, and I was blown away. I was not expecting to have such a wonderful
Yeah, it
guest
looks
on.
like they're really connected into the community and very pleasant. And they answered our questions with clarity
and expertise,
yeah,
and knowledge.
And you know what? What I gathered from them is they really love what they're doing. They do everything pro bono,
right?
Which is commendable.
Yes.
I believe in people that do stuff like this out of the kindness of their heart, and they don't charge. It's because they really love what they do.
Right.
That's like the hallmark
Right.
of like, these people are real.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, it's they're like mirror versions of us, because like they're on their own journey, but we're doing our journeys very similar to that. And
yeah, and it seems to
even to the
me,
point where they're being women, and one of the things that we complain about is that our wives aren't as enthusiastic about the subjects that we cover as we are. And turns out that it doesn't really matter whether you're a husband or a wife. If you're doing your passion, sometimes you got to go in the face of opposition. So I find it fascinating that on their end, their husbands are like, I'm not too keen
and that's
on.
what I wanted to mention. They're also family, oriented.
That's
just
another,
like we
yeah,
are.
father and son, mother and daughter,
Right.
which totally was not planned at all. I had zero plan on that, so that was all the universe. So it's amazing.
Yeah, again, they're called the Spirit Sisters, and they're a team, and they look like they're growing. And you heard, they've been on hundreds of
and they work with Western Massachusetts.
They are affiliated with the Big E,
right? I mean,
and the Wisteria Museum. So, then they're not,
that doesn't, you just don't get that overnight. That takes a lot of time, patience, just and they're dealing with things that that is, let's be honest, a little scary. I mean, Friday the 13th is a scary day, and those things that they tangle with, or they investigate, can be quite scary.
Yeah, I mean, I learned about elementals.
That's a new one for us. Yeah,
we have something like that in our culture in Dominican Republic. We call them duendes. They're like little gnomes that are mischievous.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, very, very fascinating. Hopefully we can.
Well, the Pyramid Podcast has our own version. They're called Huelepus, and they're the ones that they don't participate. They don't share the cast. They
don't donate.
They just hang out in the corner like a little entity going, what are you guys doing over there?
But anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for joining our Friday the 13th special.
Yes.
This was like, planned it out of one day to another, and I think it was a very successful one, especially thanks to the Spirit Sisters for joining us. It was very pleasant interview. Again, if you are interested in finding out what's that lurking in your home and you're very concerned, you can go to the Spirit Sisters, Google the Spirit Sisters, and they come out.
That's spiritsisters.org.
And with that said, I want to bid everybody adieu. I'm about to head out and do my thing.
And so, with everybody, we appreciate everyone. Thank you for showing up.
And this was the Friday the 13th special.
That's right. And I am Pablo Morado, the Thunderbolt.
Anesto Morado, the double-headed coin. We see you on Monday for sure.
We'll see you on Monday with another guest. We got a special guest coming to you on Monday. So we're going to be doing more of these things. And the audio quality of this interview sounded great. So hopefully we'll bring more guests for future podcasts. But thanks again for showing up. Please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to support the cast. Don't be a bobolongo, and spread the message. Free minds. You got to unplug some of these people that are lost in the matrix.
Absolutely. And with that said, if the universe is infinite,
then so are the possibilities.
Peace. Happy Friday the 13th.
Go ahead and
Lucy.
go ahead and tell me more of the methods by which you cause people to drift to hell with you.
I cause people to drift on every subject through which I can control independent thought and action. Take the subject of health, for example. I cause most people to eat too much food, and the wrong sort of food. This leads to indigestion and destroys the power of accurate thought. If the public schools and the churches taught children more about proper eating, they would do my cause irreparable damage. Marriage. I cause men and women to drift into marriage without plan or purpose designed to convert the relationship into harmony. Here is one of my most effective methods of converting people into the habit of drifting. I cause married people to bicker and nag one another over money matters. I cause them to quarrel over the bringing up of their children. I engage them in unpleasant controversies over their intimate relationships and in disagreements over friends and social activities. I keep them so busy finding fault with one another that they never have time to do anything else long enough to break the habit of drifting. Occupation. I teach people to become drifters by causing them to drift out of school into the first job they can find, with no definite aim or purpose except to make a living. Through this trick, I keep millions of people in fear of poverty all their lives. Through this fear, I lead them slowly but surely onward until they reach the point beyond which no individual ever has broken the drifting habit. Savings. I cause people to spend freely and to save sparingly, or not at all, until I take complete control of them through their fear of poverty. Environment. I cause people to drift into inharmonious and unpleasant environments in the home, in their places of occupation, in their relationship with relatives and acquaintances, and to remain there until I claim them through the habit of drifting. Dominating thoughts. I cause people to drift into the habit of thinking negative thoughts. This leads to negative acts and involves people in controversies and fills their minds with fears, thus paving the way for me to enter and control their minds. When I move in, I do so by appealing to people through negative thoughts, which they believe to be their own. I plant the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people through the pulpit, the newspapers, the moving pictures, the radio, and all other popular methods of appeal to the mind. I cause people to allow me to do their thinking for them because they are too lazy and too indifferent to think for themselves.
I conclude from what you say that drifting and procrastination are the same. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct. Any habit which causes one to procrastinate, to put off reaching a definite decision, leads to the habit of drifting.
Is man the only creature who drifts?
Yes. All other creatures move in response to definite laws of nature. Man alone defies nature's laws and drifts when he wills. Everything outside the minds of men is controlled by my opposition. by laws so definite that drifting is impossible.